Hey guys, it's Tuesday. It's August 8th, and it's USfanTV. I am Pat. He is Chris.
As always, I am Chris.
You know what? So I was looking at the things that happened today. Today's a big day. There's lots of things that have happened on August 8th.
Big day.
You'll love this one. The Chicago Cubs got lights on August 8th at Wrigley Field.
Meh.
8/8/88. Also in Chicago, today is the day that on this day, Dave Matthews' tour bus dumped like 800 pounds of shit into the Chicago River, spraying people below. That happened on this day. That was a very special moment for our city.
Shit a light in my eyes.
Bow, bow, bow. The Dream Team, the original Dream Team, the Dream Team, the 1992 U.S. Olympic men's basketball team capped off their gold medal run, destroying Croatia. I don't even remember the score. They won by 30 or something like that.
4 billion to 3.
That was a good team. That was a quality team. We haven't done much better than that as far as sports teams.
Those guys were semi-talented. I mean, they were okay if you like that sort of thing.
And the big one for us, because this is a soccer show, Marcelo Balboa turns 50 today.
How about that?
Happy birthday to you, Marcelo Balboa.
Wonderful defender. Terrible announcer.
TJ says Chris is the Christian Leitner of USfanTV. I think that's fair.
I will fight you. I will fight you.
I have to be there's only two other white guys, right? So I have to be either Chris Mullen or Larry Bird. I'm definitely not talented enough.
Stockton.
Stockton is there, of course. I am Stockton because I dish you assists. How about that?
I think I should be Chris Mullen. I think TJ would be Leitner because Leitner just wanted to fight with people just to fight with people, which is very much you, TJ.
That is true. That is exactly right. Yeah, I think TJ's the Leitner. Chris is more the, I don't know.
Extremely talented power forward.
Carmelone.
Carmelone.
One of Jimmy Kimmel's greatest ever skits. Our boy Christian Pulisic, if you believe the reports, which you should not, is he's moving to Liverpool. It's over. It's done. No, but he is 5-1 right now are the odds I saw on one of the bookmaking sites in England. I don't remember which one. Christian Pulisic is 5-1 to move to Liverpool. That's not going to happen, is it? Especially if Dembélé moves, which looks like it is happening for sure. Dortmund wouldn't get rid of both of them. I'd have a hard time believing that. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I have trouble believing that Dortmund would get rid of both of them, especially when presumably, well, you shouldn't even say both of them. Aubameyang probably is leaving. I mean, who knows? He seems to be going to leave every year, and then he doesn't.
He's never leaving because he's always leaving. He's always rumored to leave. He's never doing it. So, but Dembele's moving. Like that seems like
I think that one's happening.
Players are wishing him goodbye, and he apparently took Dortmund stuff off of his social media accounts today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't normally put a lot of stock in the social media stuff of, started following somebody today. Yeah, but like these guys know players on teams all over. Like you could start following a team just because maybe you personally like them. Maybe you like the players there. Maybe you're friends with somebody. There could be thousands of reasons for that. But yeah, when you suddenly take I am a Dortmund player off of your social media feeds, that's a pretty good sign that something's changing. Your bio didn't just accidentally change.
All right, so let's pretend for a moment that Pulisic is moving, which we both agree I can understand Liverpool wanting him. Is if they sell Coutinho, maybe they can throw a ton of money Dortmund's way, but if Dortmund is already selling Dembélé, I don't see them selling two very good players. So let's pretend they do. Let's pretend they're selling everybody. What value do we put on Christian Pulisic? Like we would think he's, the greatest most expensive player ever. But where does he actually, with these crazy numbers that are being thrown out, I'm trying to figure out where does he actually fall, given his talent level, his age, what he's already shown.
I would have thought somewhere like 25 million, maybe, but God, maybe even 30 million if you're going euros over pounds. But man, with the way the summer's going, 40, 45.
I'll
maybe.
bet it's, I was going to say 50, 60.
I would wonder if it wouldn't, if it didn't even go higher than that. When you figure like Gylfi Sigurdsson was talking, I hear that deal's done, but I think that's what everyone on the internets is saying. But yeah, they were talking like 50 million pounds for him. And while I guess at this point you could say he's done more than Pulisic.
There he goes. Chris is out. He's done. Of course he has. More problems there. All right. So yeah, I think it's between 50 and 60. I mean, if he's
still there.
Yeah, the thing you have to always consider is he going to England? If so, whatever number it is going to be higher.
Yeah.
I mean, not because of the pounds to euros conversion. If we're talking strictly euros, whatever currency we're talking, you pay a premium. If you're going, the Premier League teams have to pay a premium because the other countries know they have the money from their TV deals. So, yeah, I think if he does go, it's 50. Joseph has been in serious pain all day from wisdom tooth extractions, but he's suffering through us now. Joseph.
Is this like when somebody tells you, "Oh, my leg hurts," and you're like, "Well, I could punch you in the face," and you forget your leg hurts?
Yes, that is what, when I put my finger into a moving hedge trimmer a few weeks ago, my wife offered to punch me in the face on the way to the get it stitched to relieve the pain. So yes, something like that. Well, get well soon, buddy. That's not fun. I don't have wisdom teeth. I got lucky there. I don't have to have them removed because I don't have them because I'm not wise, apparently. Yeah.
Is that possible?
It is possible. Yeah.
I mean that you're wise, not the wisdom.
No, I never grew them. They didn't show.
Huh.
Yeah. So
they went with your hair.
Yeah, well, no, the hair was once. You knew me when I had hair.
I did.
I never had wisdom teeth, but I did at one point have hair. So
I think your picture on my phone still has you with hair.
How old is that?
Because it's you doing the shocker or something like that. 15 years.
Well, the shocker was in fashion then. So yeah, I would think probably 10, 15 years ago. All right. So what the hell are we talking about? Okay. So we value Pulisic at 50, 60, who the hell knows? The Dembélé thing is what, 100 million? He's about 46% of a Neymar. It seems about right.
Sure.
Everything a name if Neymar is a 1, like that's the scale, everything has to be a fraction of a Neymar. So the picture of you I have on my phone, if you only knew.
Well played, zero anonymity.
All right, so let's say he doesn't move, which he's not. We don't think he is. So we've got a value on him, but we don't think he's going to move. If he doesn't move, but Dembélé does, which sure looks like that's going to happen, what does that mean for him? What does that mean for Christian Pulisic?
That is a good question. I would assume it means that he starts moving into the center of the field and becomes more of an attacking midfielder. It's probably better for the U.S. I still think at this level, at kind of like Champions League level soccer, I still think at his age and what he's earned to this point, he's probably better on the outside. But for, I don't know, maybe the experience or something, it might actually serve to benefit the U.S. if he has to move inside. I don't know. I mean, Dortmund has so many good young kids. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about Dembélé and Pulisic because almost everyone has them and they're like 21, under 21 or whatever in Europe. But, they have plenty of guys behind them or alongside them who are also young, also extremely talented. And they have such a good track record of finding and growing talent that I have to think there's probably somebody else in the pipeline that they can bring up too.
I was reading today different people's reactions on Reddit and other sites, and there's people who, my initial reaction was Dembélé leaving might be good for Pulisic because he starts more often and gets more opportunities. There are people who said, that could run him ragged, that could, if they're playing opposite each other, it takes away another threat for Dortmund and puts more pressure on him. To this point, Pulisic has shown no sign of crumbling under any kind of pressure, but at some point, everybody is hitting their breaking point. So there are people who think that maybe it's a bad thing, and that maybe if Dembélé had stayed or would stay one more year, that would actually help Pulisic grow. Are we concerned that maybe this will be too much too soon? I think with normal humans, I would be, but I don't know that he's normal. He's not somebody we've never had a guy like him before, so I don't know what to do.
He is, I think, by personality, by makeup, whatever, I think different than any other, at least anyone who's been successful to this point. I mean, maybe guys like John O'Brien could have been there, but through injury kind of never made it. Claudio Reyna maybe was the same way, but I don't think was as talented. So there's something to be said there for he is in a sense forging a new path. So it's hard to say this is what this means for him, because he is unlike other players.
And people are talking about what would happen if he went to Liverpool. Yeah, my assumption was he would only go if Coutinho goes to Barcelona. And if Coutinho goes to Barcelona, Klopp would... Klopp would... Yeah. Klopp would play him probably centrally, I would think. I know he'd play. I don't think Klopp would spend that much money, whatever it would take to bring him to sit him at that point. Then he's a must-play, must-perform guy, and he's in the Premier League. So it could be tough. But yeah, I think he takes the Coutinho spot, which we're not saying Christian Pulisic is anywhere near as good as Coutinho at this point. But so that's a lot of pressure at a really big team. But that's what I think would probably happen. So that's why I kind of hope he stays at Dortmund too. It's more comfortable, and there's less of a chance of a giant failure there. But at some point, you got to make the move. We've talked about this before too. I view Dortmund as a bigger club than Liverpool too.
Yeah.
At this point, they've been to a Champions League final recently. They've won the Bundesliga in the last, it's been about 5 years now, right? 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, that's a team that Liverpool's not won the Premier League ever. Liverpool was a very, very good team in the 80s, and they might be a good team again soon. And they did win, a Champions League in 2005. The Steven Gerrard, the Istanbul.
Not Constantinople.
But yeah, exactly. But they're not. I think Dortmund's a bigger club. Now, I think the Premier League is probably globally a slightly bigger league. I don't know that it's better, but it's bigger. And maybe he would do great. Maybe he would become an international superstar at that point. But it just scares me. The whole thing scares me. It's such like a fragile thing. We talked about this with Bobby Warshaw last week a little bit. It's such a thing that you don't want to ruin. You don't want to do anything to upset it. But he also needs to, at some point in his career, at some point probably soon, he needs a little more pressure put on him to see how he does and see how he responds to get as good as he can be. So, yeah. Trev says Pulisic would come off the bench at Liverpool. I don't know. I don't think so. I think.
I think, even though I do think, Liverpool also has some guys to challenge. I think, based on what it would probably take to sign him, I think he kind of has to move into a starting role, or at least, even if he's coming off the bench, he's like first guy off the bench. At that price, I think he's too expensive for them to not start him.
Sandra says, why are we talking about Pulisic to Liverpool? Here in Germany, there's nothing about this. We don't think he's moving, Sandra. We don't. There was an English report, again, in one of the English tabloids that Klopp wants him, and he's one of the bookmakers had him at 5-1 to move to Liverpool. The reason being, if Liverpool sells Coutinho to Barcelona, they would have there you go. It would have a lot of cash to spend at that moment. So, and a need possibly for Christian to move, but we don't think it's going to happen.
So when you have a lot of money, you spend it to buy players?
That's in theory, yes. Yes. If you were a team that, say, had the largest game day revenue of any team in the world, you could spend money then, but you don't for some reason, right? Stan Kroenke.
What if you charge a lot for your tickets?
So, Christian, we don't believe the English media. That's the thing. I'm saying we don't believe that. We dismiss them all the time.
We are in full agreement there, Christian.
But will we use one of their stupid things as a talking point? We are not above that. So,
you are exactly right, and this is our point often about Mexico. That both countries hype their players up so much that they think they're gods, and they don't want to play with each other, and so they may be individually great, even though the media makes them think they're greater than they are. But they also become terrible teammates. So they can't ever play together.
There's one thing you're missing. They hype them up and then tear them down.
Oh, and then they tear them down. Yeah.
That's the weird cycle of media in both of those countries with their best players.
Oh, it's Hollywood here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the same thing. There's a desire to just destroy somebody after you make them into something. It's I don't know. It's weird. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Should we do this? Let's do ready? Like this.
What?
What
are we doing?
This is how they do it at LAFC because we have hats on.
Oh, yes.
Carlos 5. Carlos Vela is going to LAFC to play for Bob Bradley. The one thing I thought was funny is I think it was the Pancho Villa's Army account was asking Mexican fans, whether they thought that this was good or bad, and inevitably it's the same thing that we talk about when a player goes to MLS. They're pissed that they're coming back to MLS and taking the paycheck and not challenging themselves in Europe and getting better. Vela's been around a while, though. I think it's time for him to cash in. But
maybe. I mean, I would think, he's been playing at a high enough level in Spain that I would think he could probably still keep earning a paycheck elsewhere. But yeah, there is the I don't know, the fact that you do go back to being a god. And, there is something to that for a lot of these guys that, yeah, you go back to where there are more Mexicans and suddenly you become a god again. And suddenly you're amazing and everyone loves you and they get to tell you how great you are. And sure, you're making a lot of money and you're closer to home. And I mean, I get it.
But and yeah, especially with Galaxy getting the Dos Santos brothers, there's probably a need for LAFC to compete on the El Tri superstar front. So
should it be Cuatro Santos?
I guess if you square it, then yes. But yeah, so
El Cubo. I don't know what is square in Spanish. I don't know.
Christian, you're an El Tri fan, right? Are we right on this? Are Mexican fans really not pleased when these guys come back to MLS, I should say? And if they were coming to play in Mexico in Liga MX, would there be the same level of would people be as pissed? I wonder. It's when Beasley. I guess we have one example of this. When DeMarcus Beasley went to Liga MX, I wasn't pissed. I figured that's still a high enough league that he can play. And look, he's like 90 years old and he's still playing for the national team. So maybe his time in Mexico served him well.
It was the warm climate. It was.
TJ says, "When are you guys ever right?" There are times.
We don't claim to be right or good.
We're not boastful here. We're not saying we're special. So, you're Chilean? Okay. So Alexis Sanchez, baby. There, Ricardo, how do you feel about Mexican players coming to MLS? Are you? I know you're an El Tri supporter. Are you happy about this or not? So, Christian, I didn't know you were Chilean. Our other Christian is Brazilian. Crew HD videos, Christian. So,
yeah, is he here? Because I was going to ask him what he thought of the Ethan Finlay move.
if he's here, he hasn't shown himself.
Yes, Christian. Yeah, should Zardes move? Yes. I think he should probably move to maybe like Holland, Belgium, somewhere where he has to keep working on his first touch. I think Holland might actually be a good place for him because it's a place where, traditionally Americans have fared pretty well. But it moves him into some higher competition, both for his position and probably for a number of the teams he's playing against.
Yeah, we
maybe Portugal, maybe like a second division team in Spain.
That's a guy who needs a shakeup. I think needs a. Some guys can continue to grow and push themselves at a certain club, but I don't think that's anything against Gyasi. I just think he needs. It feels like it's time for him to go somewhere else and see what's up, because he for a while was a guy that we were all, from a national team standpoint, pretty excited about, and it seems to have leveled off when we saw what we had and when he got hurt and whatever. So he seems like a great guy. Seems like if he can focus and keep moving in the right direction, maybe he can have like a resurgence or a surgence or whatever you want to call it. It would be good to see. So
I like his Demolition Man haircut. I think that was zero anonymity. He has that so his grandparents can spot him on TV, which makes me laugh. That it's just because his parents are old, our grandparents are old and can't see well. So he's like, just find the guy with the crazy blonde stripe down his head.
Dominic says Acosta should go to West Ham and play with Chicharito. I don't wish West Ham on anybody.
Oof, maybe Chicharito.
Like, I seriously think that was. I thought that was a bad move for Chicharito to go.
I think it's a step down. I don't understand it.
At least when they had Berlin ground, it was it was cool in some ways. Now they've got that Olympic Stadium that's just dreadful. Like, all the air goes out of that thing. It's worse than the Emirates. The Emirates has some charm to it, even though it's kind of big and plain. That Olympic Stadium is terrible that West Ham plays at. London Stadium or whatever they call it. So I don't think that a move to Hammers was the right move for Chicharito. Maybe he just really, really wanted to be back in the Premier League. But obviously it's better than when he was at Man United or when he was at Real Madrid and he wasn't playing all the time. It's better for him to be playing all the time like anybody. But I would have stayed in the Bundesliga if I were him.
I would agree.
Yeah, I actually feel bad for West Ham fans. Is that strange? Like, after
scum,
they had such a good the last season of Berlin ground. What were they? 6th, 7th? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
But they had a really good season, and then just last year was terrible. Which is really, I think that's the template for what's going to happen to Tottenham this year. I'm very excited about that. Just even though they've got some really awesome guys. When is Real Madrid going to come buy up this current crop of Tottenham guys so they can go back to for a while? That'd be nice.
Dele Alli, who, I mean, I gotta say is pretty talented for being an English player and a Spurs player. He is pretty. He is a pleasant player to watch, I guess, if you can watch independent of, say, your affinities.
Drew wants to know what we think of Tottenham.
Shit.
There's only one answer to that. And what do we think of shit?
Tottenham.
So back to Pulisic. I was thinking of this earlier. If you had let's say a Josh Sargent or some like, teenage talent, and you could put them in any league in the world, they're assuming they're good enough to hang on at whatever team in whatever league. My first choice would be the Bundesliga at this point. The way, half of our team plays in or has played in the Bundesliga at this point, it seems, and not just the German Americans, obviously, but Bobby Wood has thrived and Pulisic has done well. I it used to be, the Premier League for me. I wanted them to go to the Premier League if they could, because they were on TV here the most, but selfishly. But
at this point, you can pretty much watch as many Bundesliga games as you can EPL games, and there's the fact that younger players get to play more. I think there's the games are just more exciting, partially because, as much as I hate to say it, because generally I will advocate for some sort of balance across the league. But the fact that it's so weighted towards Bayern Munich, like everyone else is kind of fighting for stuff.
Yeah.
So you have, I don't know, more excitement, more opportunities to score, more opportunities to see back and forth play, as opposed to the EPL, which is more balanced, but at the same time they also kind of beat the shit out of each other. So when it comes to international play, I think they're at a disadvantage.
Yes, it's not just the competitiveness of the EPL. It's not just the physicality, which it's not like the Scottish League or anything like that, but it's still, a Stoke player will put their leg through your shin and end your career if they are in a bad mood.
And then their fans will sing about
but it's also it's 4 extra games that compared to the Bundesliga. Those games are all packed in the middle of winter.
I do think that England should do something about that, like take a break like much of the rest of Europe, because I just think it benefits I think it benefits everyone. It benefits the team because they presumably will then have some of their players back again for those early part of the year European games when it really kind of starts meaning something. But also, with a little more rest, presumably then the fans get to see the top players play more.
Yeah. Ricardo says USA players need more atmosphere. I think that doesn't hurt. That's for sure.
That's certainly part of the reason I think we both have called for some sort of super Copa America.
Right. And even at a club level, that's why I enjoy watching the Bundesliga. That's why I enjoy watching the Mexican League. That's why, certain teams in England still have a fantastic atmosphere. We hate Liverpool, but that crowd is ridiculously great. So it's and I think playing not just in front of those as a home player, but playing against those in those sort of atmospheres all the time. That's why I think, and it's happening to some degree, I think it's why that we're not as intimidated by Azteca as 10 years ago or 15 years ago the U.S. teams were, because they're used to playing in big atmospheres that with angry fans. So it's, it definitely helps. Some players don't seem to care at all about where they're playing. It's just how they're made. And I've always wondered about this. Like, I feel like it's soccer. Who cares what the crowd's doing? But other guys feed off it. So one way or the other. So yeah, it's better to have better atmospheres, and they're more fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't hate Liverpool, Julian.
I do.
Only because I'm an Arsenal fan. I hate them like another team, but I don't really, really hate them. But Chris has a fascination with hating the city of Liverpool, Scousers, the team, everything but Steven Gerrard, really.
Look, even I got to say, Gerrard is probably the best box-to-box midfielder I've ever seen. That guy was amazing. I can't fault the guy. I also have to say, Coutinho, incredible. Why he was still playing, or why, I guess officially he is still playing at Liverpool, I don't understand, because frankly, somebody should have snapped him up. Some of the things that guy can do, insane. But no, every person I've ever known from Liverpool has just been a piece of shit of a human being. I couldn't stand them. So I just actively hate Liverpool as punishment to them.
A couple things
I love that they're seeing, their team lose and something bad is happening to them.
Mike, we got food poisoning from a Nando's outside Stamford Bridge. So we blame Chelsea for the food poisoning. It was the worst sickness of my entire life. I felt like I was going to die for 3 days.
It did give me an extra 24 hours in London.
It did extend your stay.
I thought about that today because I had to drive out. I had to drive somewhere today, and I ended up having to drive by the restaurant that I've only been to the day I got back from that trip. I don't know why I know that. For some reason, my dad had to pick me up special at the airport because of the way things went down. And we stopped for dinner at this place, and it's sort of an out of the way restaurant. And I had to pass by it today, so I was thinking of, there's that place.
We actually have Nando's in Chicago now. I am not fucking touching it.
I'm not going there.
They can keep their poison to themselves.
I got that the peri peri chicken tasted good.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
It did not feel good when I got food poisoning 12 hours later, whatever it was.
Christian wants to know if we think Chile can become a world power in football. I don't know. I feel like this is more of a Chile golden generation thing that you're going through right now. And I don't know if you can maintain this level. I think you've just got a crop of a once in a lifetime crop of players right now. So,
I mean, they've just won 2 Copa Americas and were runners up at the Confederations Cup. Are they going to win the World Cup? I doubt it. I still think, just like the Confederations Cup, Germany is simply too strong. There is the positive and the negative of constant challenging from, in particular, Brazil and Argentina. On the one hand, it should help produce better teams and better players. On the other hand, that's an awful lot to have to try to beat every single time.
What do we think of Neymar leaving? That's off topic for U.S. soccer, but
I mean, hey, the way we've talked about it could involve a domino effect that does affect at least one American.
Do you know what else too? Like I thought of this. It's sort of the opposite of what we've seen in the NBA recently. Neymar left in part because he got a shitload of money, but also because the only way he's ever going to step out from beneath Messi's shadow is to go somewhere else and be the star, the full-on star of the team. And it's sort of the opposite of we're going to get together and win all the championships thing that the NBA is going through, where LeBron joining forces in Miami when he was there, and then Durant going to the Warriors. It's I respect it in that regard. Like he said, money wasn't a factor. No, I think it played in Neymar, especially with how his dad has been. But I also think it's obviously not as big of a team, but they probably have more money to spend than anybody in the world. So maybe they can become the best team. They can coast through the French league and then try to compete for the Champions League. So I guess,
I mean, hey, if they can truly spend 200 million on Neymar, and then they're talking about, maybe 80 for Alexis, if they're going to keep spending like this, I don't see how they're in a sense, they're just going to win by default, because sooner or later, other teams are just going to run out of great players. Messi, sort of like Argentina, Messi can't carry Barcelona all the time. You could say the same thing of Ronaldo. Now, Real Madrid tends to buy kind of like PSG. So in a sense, they're just, out Realing, out Madriding Real Madrid. So I don't know, but you have to wonder, where does it stop? And does it start? It probably works for a year or two, sort of like a Mourinho gig, because after that, I assume it's going to start pissing off players, because everybody's going to keep losing their star spot.
Dominic says PSG wins Champions League before Barca. I don't think so. I think Barcelona reloads immediately and goes for it this year, but we shall see. The other interesting thing about the Neymar thing was that apparently a good, like, he's got this endorsement deal with Qatar now, where they're paying him tax-free in Qatar to be the spokesman for not spokesman, but like the figurehead of the 2022 World Cup.
Ambassador, right?
Yeah, ambassador, yes, which is funny that they've already won it, right? So, why do they need this? But I guess they want to build goodwill and maybe not have it stripped of them, which I just don't see happening. But I don't think FIFA gives a shit what's going on. It is funny that all those migrant workers are dying and not getting paid, but Neymar is going to get 300 million euros or whatever to go.
But everything's on the up and up with that World Cup.
That's it's very very dirty, very dirty. And it pisses me off too that we have to do this. I don't like that we have to change everything. Like we have to play this in the winter because it's too hot in the summer. We have to stop all of the leagues. It just pisses me off.
Well, what's ridiculous is if your own investigation really did finally admit that there, even in the like protected, blacked out version that they released, you all but admitted, oh, there were absolutely irregularities in voting for Russia and Qatar. Why do you keep like making new rules for them? Shouldn't we just fix this? Like, why do we keep going? Well, we're already here. It's like, well, we're already dirty, so let's do it again. Well, you know what? I was speeding, so why not just kill somebody too? It's like the movie Very Bad Things, which I did not find funny.
Austin says he went golfing with a guy from Qatar, and the guy didn't feel like they were in jeopardy of losing the World Cup. I don't think they are either. I think people can yell and scream about what's going on there and all the bad things, whatever. But I don't. No, it's not. No, it's not going to happen. Charlie wants to know what we think of Bruce Arena. He would have liked to seen a fresh face come in. I think Bruce Arena is a fine Band-Aid, not at all controversial coach to help us right the ship and get us qualified.
I think that's exactly right.
I think he was the right guy for the time. I think because he did the job, you've got to give him until appears that we're going to make the World Cup. It's not in stone yet, but because he seems to have done the job, you've got to give him the 2018 World Cup then to coach as a reward. But after that, I think we have to go in a different direction. I don't hate Bruce. I like him, but I want to move on from there. And
well, I mean, Bruce is Graham Zusi. It's like he has a role, he has a job, but nobody really wants him. Long term, he's not the solution.
He's a fine. I mean,
he's old and slow, but it works. So you understand why he's out there. I think Band-Aid is probably a good description. He was here to clean up a mess that that the team was facing. He did that. We've nearly qualified. I mean, we should be all but qualified in roughly a month from now. Then you look at after the World Cup, probably finding a big ideas guy. And, also, even if whatever, the sky fell and we won the World Cup, I can't see Bruce really staying on. I mean, maybe in that situation, but you have to look at, he's also getting old. At some point he kind of has to want to retire or move on. I don't think he wants to Arsene Wenger this, where it's like, oh no, I'll stay another 5 years and destroy everything you've built, everything I built even more. I think he's fully accepted this is a short-term solution.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. It's fine. And I think Bruce is a handball away from making a semifinal with this team. So in 2002. So he doesn't suck as a coach, but I think he's probably got some technical director big ideas like Jurgen did, but I thought that Jurgen was far better at conveying those and pushing for those. Bruce seems more interested in just the role of the coach. So the technical director aspect of UX soccer right now is sort of just doing nothing. I don't see any, Jurgen pushed for the F license and he was pushing the NCAA and doing things and very good things in that regard. And Bruce doesn't seem interested in doing that, which is fine. Bruce is going to get us qualified or whatever. But then, we need somebody to come in. I heard Tuchel's name mentioned by somebody. I would love that. Antonio Conte. I do wonder, would he allow anybody from MLS onto the team if he wasn't willing to take Giovinco when he was with Italy? Would it be all guys who play in Europe or bust? We're not taking a single domestic league guy. But I would take him. So,
yeah, Dominic. I mean, your point about Klinsmann being a technical director, that's kind of what we've talked about in the past. So it was what I think we even talked about before we said we wish he'd been fired. He's not an in-game manager. He is, however, a great figurehead for your program. I mean, maybe if Jonathan Klinsmann turns into a great goalkeeper and ends up representing the U.S. at the senior level, he'll find a way to come back even. His name and face are great to show up and go, hey, why don't you come play for us?
Yeah.
That'll turn some heads. That'll get doors open that may not otherwise. But, as a coach, no, everyone saw his limitations. I mean, you saw him at Germany. I think you saw him at Bayern Munich, and you saw him with the U.S.
Ivan says Oscar Pareja. I would love that. I respect him, and I think if you're going to go with a current MLS coach, he would be the guy I would want to take over for Bruce. Christian says Diego Simeone. I love Simeone, but I don't think he speaks English, does he? That would be a problem. That's like when they were joking about Piojo taking over Miguel Herrera. I don't think Miguel Herrera speaks much English, so that'd be difficult. You'd only be able to communicate there through half your players or whatever, or you got to do it through a translator, which would suck. So Simeone would kill us. It would be interesting. It would be I would love to see it. I mean, it could end really poorly with Simeone too, but if anybody was going to, through sheer will and determination, get us to the next level, he could do it. So, but I like, I do like Tuchel, Sandra. Tuchel would be, Tuchel and Yogi Love are probably my two favorite choices right now that I've heard mentioned. So Pep, yeah, he's a genius. Bring him over. Simeone knows English, does he? I thought somebody said he didn't. I don't think I've heard him speak it. I thought he was like a messy guy. He didn't really ever want to speak it, but I don't know. So, all right, I think we're getting close to the end of this thing. What do you think, Chris? It's 8:47 here in the Central
Agreed,
Time Zone.
Hat Guy.
Thank you, Hat Guy. This is USFanTV. The website's USFanTV.com. We have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. They are all USFanTV for your convenience. You got to know where to find us if you're on Craigslist, and we don't have Snapchat because we hate it. We do have YouTube, but you know that because you're watching this. Thank you for doing that. Subscribe if you haven't. There's some new people here. Please subscribe. Push that button. Sandra says Simeone does not speak English. That's what I thought. So, but I don't know that for sure. So I'll take your word for it. We've got, I think Holden was working on the Tinder, the new shirt sleeve sponsor of Manchester United, Tinder. That's pretty funny.
I assume it's left sleeve.
It's got to be, right? And then Wando.
I tweeted that. No one seemed to really get that. I thought that was clever, personally.
We have thoughts on Wando. I'm tired of beating up on Wando, though. I feel bad about it. Should I? It's not Wando's fault.
Fire and Fury Wando?
Yeah. All right. Do you have any final words?
No. I will let the commenters have at it right now. No further words. You are done. Thanks, everybody.
It's gone off the rails. You know what? You should join our fantasy league. If you haven't, I'll put the code. You go to premierleague.com and then you go to fantasy, not fantasy draft. That's a different thing. This is a league where you make a team. You go to premierleague.com and then you make a team of Premier League players. And then what is going on, man? You guys, I'm serious. And then you type in our code and then your team will be put in our league. So, and Chris, you should probably, being that you co-host the show, you should probably get on that too.
I have to finish my draft or whatever you call it to put players on my team.
All right. That's it. Adios. We'll see you Thursday night. You are done.